Sa hafade Guam and beyond, I am here with Giana Santos. She is the Health Educator and Nutrition Counselor for TakeCare Wellness. So, I got TakeCare insurance myself, so I wanted to kind of really understand what is covered under my insurance and use the best of the abilities of what's offered for this insurance company. So I wanted to start off with the foundational question: what is TakeCare Wellness, and what kind of services are offered here?
Okay, so TakeCare Wellness is the department in TakeCare that wants to offer our education to members who may be struggling to control their comorbidities. So that's things like their obesity. We offer nutrition counseling. We have diabetes out in the community, so we offer our DSMES program, which is our Diabetes Self-Management Education and Support Program. We actually just had our first group session this last week, so on Wednesday. We have our disease management consultation available to our members as well, and this is for people who have high cholesterol, hyperlipidemia, they have hypertension. And our nutrition, I just want to say about our nutrition program, it goes beyond those who have obesity or who are overweight. We also offer that consultation for members who may want to just reach a fitness goal of their own, so muscle gain, fat loss, or general better health. We can help guide them into that goal. So setting a time-specific wellness goal as well will be able to, again, help promote that.
And like with the diabetic education and that program, that's kind of a one-to-one. Is that face-to-face program, or?
Yeah, so when it comes to diabetes education, we have our type 2 diabetes program, right, our DSMES, and then we also have Prevent T2, which is type 2 diabetes prevention. Yeah. And these two programs do have a group setting that is available for members on an annual basis, and then we have one-to-one sessions that can be scheduled as needed or as necessary.
Is there a kind of a regimen, or can you go every week, once a month? Is there kind of a general guideline as how often you can meet as a diabetic person looking for counseling?
Yes. So that will depend on the individual based on what their goal is. If it's to reduce their A1C and they're having issues with controlling the food that they're taking in, we'll probably want to do a nutrition consultation alongside the diabetes education. So with the nutrition education, I typically have my members track their food intake for 1 week, and then we kind of do a review, see what changes need to be made, and then we go into also what topics need to be covered. If it's protein, if it's excess calories, that's the issue, nutrition facts labels, we review all of that. And again, it depends on how much help a member needs. So if they want to check in every other week, if they want to check in every month, then we'll do that. But I usually, of course, if I see the necessity and they only want to meet once every other month, then I'm going to maybe encourage them to come back in a couple of weeks or in a month. Yeah. So it does vary person to person.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's valid because the number of outside of the hospital or outpatient type dietitian consults and nutrition consults are very limited. There's maybe 2 or 3 that are outside in the community. So getting that kind of advice or even accountability is tough. And it's for me, and I try my best, but I don't have 30 minutes, an hour to really go through all the details.
Exactly.
And so I think this is a valuable program that people can make use of and take advantage of.
Thank you. I really agree, because you said it, like, doctors are trying to treat the rest of the population. All the nitty-gritty details can be discussed in length here, and I don't just have a 30-minute slot for people who need more help. Like, especially if you get to know your members over time, and if you know that they have a lot that they want to address in one consultation, we'll make it longer. And I just really want to let our members know that this service is available, because I mean, and you see how much diabetes is out there in the community wreaking havoc, right? Yeah. It's one of the biggest costs for medicine, for hospitalizations, for other issues like for visiting your primary care physician, right? But we have, I feel like our numbers for enrollment in our program could be like over 100 for people who don't know about their diabetes, who have just been diagnosed, and still we're seeing such like smaller groups coming in. Maybe it's the group setting that they're a little bit more conservative and they don't want to like mention their problems in a group setting. But I think that the group discussion is extremely important. Because you see other people who are struggling with the same issues you're having controlling your diabetes. But I also want to encourage our members to come in for their one-to-one if the group setting is not something that they're comfortable with.
Right. And then I think another game changer as part of the program is you help with CGMs or continuous glucose monitoring systems, right? And to help educate on how to install it or use it, and then how to track things and how to interpret the data. And why do you think CGM is such a game changer?
I love the CGM. I even one time used it on myself, and I don't have diabetes, but even if I did, right, it's not something that people should be ashamed of, because we want to be able to control those numbers. And again, something that the community as a whole struggles with. So the CGM alone is such a great tool for measuring your glucose just throughout the day. It's a 24-hour measurement, and depending on the device you have, can keep the data for 10 days, for 14 days per device. And then that information also goes back into the application that you're using for this device to be able to track your trends. If you are in range, which is from 70 to 180 for those with diabetes, if you are going below 70, if you're going rapidly below 70, and you need to have an intervention to introduce some sugar to your system to bring that number up, or if it's too high and you want to do something to bring it down, it's just such a great tool in telling you when you're out of range and how long you're spending in range.
And then I feel it's a lot. I've had it on myself too, and it's just like a small disc, right? That just goes. Where do you typically put it on the?
So it has to go on the fatty part of the. Oh, I love to say this, on the fatty part of the arm, because I do see some members who are like, no, I saw someone put it on their muscular part of their arm, and I tell them, like, it has to go on the fattier part of your arm, not too close to the bone, not directly on the muscle, because of the interstitial fluid that it's collecting. That layer is going to be different on the muscle side of your arm versus the fattier side of your arm, and it's not collecting blood exactly, it's collecting that interstitial fluid. So the numbers are also slightly going to differ from the instant read glucometer reading. And so I just wanted to get some of that information out there too, because it's such an amazing tool, but if you're reading it wrong or using it wrong, you're not going to have an accurate representation of your blood sugar, which is going to affect the way that you're treating that blood sugar level.
For me, I think it's a game changer because it's a big insight to the patient, because every person responds differently onto carbs or fats or whatever they eat. And typically I don't like people eating oatmeal or processed carbs, but even just oatmeal itself, some people might respond and have a spike of 300 versus another diabetic person with the same A1C might have a different blood sugar read off of different foods. So you kind of really fine tune what carbs or what foods tend to spike your sugar and which foods is not too bad, even if we might say it's a high carb item. So
yes, exactly. And so people digest food differently. You don't want to say that if you, for example, the rice, the rice argument, right? If you cool down the rice and you build that insulin resistance or the starch resistance, that it's going to have the same effect in lowering glucose between person to person. So identifying what foods really spike your glucose is a game changer for trying to individualize the approach that we have treating members with diabetes.
And so I guess at least for TakeCare insurance, what is the criteria to be able to qualify to getting a CGM versus your typical, glucometer finger stick?
Okay, so we do have to have a confirmed diagnosis of diabetes, and that can be type 1, type 2, gestational diabetes, as long as their physician is deeming it necessary for them to be on a CGM. This would be verifiable, of course, by the prescription given by the primary care provider. And once they have that prescription and they turn it in, it won't be approved until, or it won't be released at no cost to the member until the prior authorization is in place. And so you get the prior authorization by availing of any of our wellness programs. But I want to be cautious about saying that, because our wellness programs are the diabetes education, the disease management, and the nutrition consultations. So we also have our eVolt machine here. Unfortunately, having an eVolt scan alone is not going to qualify you for a prior authorization, because we want the members to have the education to supplement the controlling of their glucose with just the CGM. We want them to have the knowledge to do all the other stuff, because monitoring is very important, but so is taking your medication as prescribed, avoiding a high carb diet, exercise, staying hydrated, and reducing the intake of refined sugar. So we do want to promote that alongside the monitoring device, which I love and I think is absolutely effective in helping members reduce their A1C, reduce their total glucose, but everything else is equally as important. The food that you're eating and how to control it when it gets too high and what to do if it gets too low.
Yeah. So I've been eyeing this eVolt machine. It's been a while since I had a scan. So, I'm trying to start my health journey. I've pretty much neglected my health for the last year. Not too great. So just trying to get back on the horse, and you have to always have your baseline.
Exactly. I love to hear you say it, because that's exactly what our machine, our eVolt 360 body composition analyzer is. It starts with a baseline measurement to see where you are now, determine what your wellness goals are, and how we can help you get there. So this is the star of of our nutrition program.
So can I check it out, and we'll bear all the details, my embarrassing details for today?
Absolutely. And you shouldn't be embarrassed, because again, we're establishing a baseline and seeing what needs to get done. Yeah. These are not good or bad results, so we'll take a look. And yeah, we'd love to show you the
let's
machine.
check it out.
Okay, so you can step onto the scale and you're going to align your heels with the squares.
You are being weighed.
Okay, give this a moment to take your weight. So we have your results for today, and I can review all the numbers with you. It's really interesting just to see how certain measurements are directly related to other measurements. So for this first line, we have the date, your name, your height at 5'7", and your weight. You want me to say it out loud?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so 177 flat. And then your age is at 45. You have your gender here as well. So your weight is broken up into two main measurements, and that is, of course, the body fat component, but also your lean body mass, which is everything else that's not body fat, composed of your skeletal muscle, your protein, so things like your hair, skin, nails, and organ tissues, and the mineral deposits in your bones. Your total body water is its own measurement. It's really just how much water is within those structures of your body fat and lean body mass. So for you, for example, you carry 92.2 pounds of water within your body composition, but that doesn't mean to say that that goes on top of what your current weight is, which is 177. It's not like you're 92 pounds of water alone, it's just the water inside of your skeletal muscle, protein, minerals, and body fat. So lean body mass, you can actually see here on the results sheet, if you add up the number 2, number 3, and number 4 together, that's your total lean body mass. For body fat, there's also two main types of body fat, and your 49.2 pounds can be broken down into 41.2 0.2 pounds of subcutaneous fat. Subcutaneous literally translates into under the skin.
Right.
The other type of fat is at 7.9 pounds of visceral fat. So visceral fat is the fat that is around your organs, and while some of it is necessary for cushioning, for thermal control, for blood vessel structure, this is also, if it gets too concentrated around your organs, can lead to an interference of organ function or interference with blood flow to those organs, which can again incur other issues. So you add these two together and you get 49.2 pounds, and then it also gives you the percentage of this fat compared to your total body weight. So that 41.2 pounds is 23.3% of your total body weight, and that 7.9 pounds of visceral fat is 4.5% of your total body weight. And your total body fat percentage is obtained by adding those two percentages of fat together. So you have a total body fat percentage, 27.8%, but I want to make it a point to show you where exactly you are for someone in your age group, like what is a normal body fat percentage and what is over or under, for example. So your age is at 45. So a male in that age group, you can see the ranges here. For low would be below 11%, and normal is 11 to 22.9%. So once you hit 23, you're considered in the high range, and then once you hit 29, you're considered in the very high range. And as you accumulate fat, your risk for comorbidities does go up. Then we'll go into the size of that visceral fat. We'll kind of come around again to that visceral fat number. In terms of size, this machine gives you the calculated size of that using squared centimeters, and so this is at 148, and you can see here that an optimal range for someone with your height and weight is 50 to 100. So again, with having any amount of visceral fat, that does put your body at some level of risk. And so that scale that we have is from 1 to 20. On this scale, you come at a 14. You come in at a level 14, which is considered over range. So we do want that to be 9 or below to be in a balanced range. Going back to your total body water, because in 12 and 13, you get over 40 measurements with this scan. So going back to number 5, that's your total body water, but number 12 and 13 are the distribution of that total body water. So you have 61.7 pounds of water inside of your cells that intracellular fluid, and then you have 30.4 pounds in the extracellular fluid. This is where I can tell if somebody's getting in enough water, or even if they're getting in enough water, maybe they have some water retention due to a high sodium diet. And so here the percentage should be anywhere from 63 to 65%. At 67%, I would assume that you're retaining a little bit of water, and it could be either from dehydration, you're not getting in enough water, or you have a high sodium diet. I mean, there could be other issues as well, like hormone imbalance, but that's not something that we'd be able to diagnose here or to even confirm at this point.
So definitely looks like I'm dehydrated there. Okay.
Yeah. Let me know if you need any more water. Going into your BMR and TEE. So what I want to say about this is the numbers for your metabolism. These go up with a increase in lean body mass, and it slows down with a decreased lean body mass, which is to say that they have a direct relationship. The higher your lean body mass is, the faster your metabolism, the faster you burn calories, because those structures are healthier and require more energy to keep going. And the lower the numbers are, the slower your metabolism will be. And this is not to say whether or not you have a slow or a high or low metabolism, right? This is just to say that given your current body composition, this is the rate at which you are burning calories. So this is not going to give us an optimal range for metabolism. Like in these other categories, you see these numbers in the brackets are giving us those optimal ranges to indicate if this is high or low. So this is unique to the individual is what I should say. Okay, so your BMR is your basal metabolic rate. This is the amount of calories that your body burns to sustain metabolic function, which is thinking, breathing, digestion, blood flow, nutrient distribution. Whatever your body requires without movement involved is considered your BMR. You know, your TEE is your total energy expenditure. This is with that movement involved, okay? So you can see here your BMR, the minimum requirement that you need, just again for metabolic function, is 1,622 calories. But your total energy expenditure is at 2,497 calories. And this is, again, just what it takes for you to get up in the morning, put on your clothes, brush your teeth, go to the car, get to work, do your work. Any movement involved is considered a part of your total energy expenditure.
And typically, when we're trying to calculate a calorie deficit to lose weight, you use the TE, right? Then deduct whatever 300 to 500 calories.
Yes.
Off that, right?
Yes. And so with this machine, with our eVolt 360 body composition machine, it will take the goal that you had selected. If that's fat loss, you'll select 3 different time ranges. There's rapid fat loss, which is within the next 2 months. I think it's like 6 to 8 weeks. And then moderate fat loss, which is anywhere from 10 to 12 weeks, so about 3 months. And then a sustainable time frame for fat loss, which is 4 months or more. This one really encouraging more of a lifestyle change in those 4 months rather than a crash diet, for example. So because you chose moderate fat loss, it's going to give you a medium deficit for calories. So you can take a look to meet your BMR and then have about 200 to 300 calories extra. The rapid, that 2 month span, will just give you your BMR, give or take 100 calories. So that'll give you a range of calories from 1,622 to 1,722. Because you chose moderate, again, that's a little bit higher than your BMR at 1,822 to 1,922 calories. And it even breaks it down into the grams and percentage of protein, carbs, and fat, which are those macronutrients.
Seems to follow a little bit more like a zone type of distribution of 30% across the board.
Well, yeah. So it depends on also what your body goal is, right? So if it were muscle gain, it would be higher amounts of protein, lower fat, and same thing goes for optimal health. You want to get in lower fat. But if you're trying to lose the fat, you still need some for energy in order to work out, right? And you still need those carbohydrates in order to have the energy to work out. And so these are automatic from the eVolt machine, and we can definitely individualize it based on what this person's goal is in front of us and what their current diet routine is, like what their preferences are as well. So we take all of that into consideration. What I want to make known here is that in the supplement recommendations, we absolutely encourage a food first approach. So if you're having problems meeting your protein needs, then sure, you can add the protein supplement. But again, we want to encourage that food first approach. Same thing can be said for carbohydrates, and for the greens powder, it'll say that you need greens powder here, but if you're getting in enough fruits and vegetables, then you don't necessarily need those supplements in addition to a balanced diet. Last but most importantly is the fat burning thermogenic powder that we absolutely do not recommend, and if I had my pen I would just scratch it off, because those are extremely unregulated products. A lot of times they're just very high in caffeine, and again, you can achieve fat loss in a more healthy way through a balanced diet, which is what we want to promote. Here in wellness, we really encourage those 4 pillars of health, which is to eat right, get active, to relax and unwind, and to be socially connected. While we promote these items, we want to make sure that first and foremost, you have the education around what is ideal, or the education around what is the healthy approach.
Yeah, and these are so much more accurate. I think I did, because you can get the typical weight scales that have body fat percentage. I mean, on average, I would say there's usually about a 2% difference between the eVolt and this. But today, when I measured, I was pretty way off, almost 3-4% from my scale at home. So I want to also mention that one thing about the eVolt
that may be a little bit more accurate is, first off, they're calibrated scales regularly, and second is that they use 3 different frequencies of bioimpedance.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think the scales that you can get at home are typically one type of frequency, and this uses 3 different frequencies to be able to accurately distinguish what is body fat, what is lean body mass, what is water.
Yeah.
So I get that question a lot, like, oh, well, my scale at home said this, and I want to be able to clarify that we do have advanced technology here available to our members.
Yeah, so what is up with the no caffeine? I had to sacrifice my caffeine this morning. How does that affect the measurements?
Caffeine can encourage dehydration, and we don't want you to be over or underhydrated here. You want to just have a regular, normal amount of water so that we can see at your current intake of water if you're dehydrated or if you're retaining water or if you're overhydrated. We'll also be able to see that through the intracellular and extracellular fluids.
I mean, I love this. And I think one of the measurements here that is the most underestimated that not many people talk about is the visceral fat. Because that, I mean, in terms of longevity, that's probably one of the better predictors of, living longer, not having a heart attack, or
absolutely,
fatty liver, so all these other disease metabolic syndromes. So visceral fat is a percentage. The subcutaneous fat we all worry about because we don't look good if we have too much, but then it's actually really the visceral fat that does matter in terms a lot more on your metabolic health, I think. So so I think that's an important number.
Interesting that you're talking about metabolic health, because this machine will also give you your current metabolic age. Man. So the goal is to have it either match your chronological age or for your bio age to be younger than your chronological age. We also have the BWI score, which is what we use instead of BMI, because as you know, BMI only takes into account your height and weight, not considering gender, not considering age, and lean body mass content, right? Because I mean, I've had to have like bodybuilders come in and tell them that they're obese based on their BMI, but then they do the scan and they realize that a lot of it is lean body mass as opposed to body fat. But on the BMI, they're going to be in the obese range. And here we have a BWI telling you where exactly, number out of 10, how likely you are to maintain your current health based on your lifestyle habits and body composition. And so the BWI will give you a rating out of 10. 10 is like perfect, and I'll say it again, like I've only ever seen one person who is a 10 out of 10, and he was 80 years old, had lived perfectly, he was active his whole life, he was concerned about his fat intake, and he was the only 10 out of 10 I've ever seen. And a 9 would be considered athletic, an 8 is considered balanced, and a 7 is average. So we hope to get everyone up to at least a 7 before progressing through those wellness goals to get you up to an 8 or a 9.
So I think that's probably a pretty good estimation off of what information. I don't know how much statistical analysis they get to come up with that number, but I do have access to True Age. This is more of a genetic test, so we measure like the telomere length, and that seems to be fairly accurate in terms of determining what's your actual biological versus chronological age. So, this is the cheaper method, but there are more sophisticated genetic ways to tell. The last question I had was, is this available to uninsured or people that are outside of TakeCare that just want to pay a fee and just get measurements?
Absolutely. Okay. So this is one of the tools that we have for free at no cost to TakeCare members, and they can do it as much as they'd like. I've had some members come in like week after week. But for those who are not members who want to try the eVault 360, we have a $50 fee for your first scan, and that's because it comes with the full explanation of what these numbers mean and how they're related to each other and what it means for you and your wellness goals. And then every other scan after is $30 per scan, but if you get 2 at one time, it goes down to $25 per. So it's a $50 for 2 scans.
That's actually not a bad price, because these machines are like $5-6 grand, $7 grand. I think higher now, 10?
I think so.
Yeah. So it's super expensive. So $30 is actually not a bad deal. So.
And it's a pretty competitive price in the community to what's currently available.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I got some work to do based on these numbers. So.
Yeah, well, based on your numbers between now and last time, we can definitely start working on some wellness goals.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you too. It was a pleasure.